right, Tuesday, January 16th. Aaron Brightman here for the Scarlet Faithful podcast. A bit of a messy day out there. A little bit of snow in North Jersey, mix elsewhere. And wanted to circle back on Rutgers men's basketball. So did a rapid reaction after Sunday's game. I know that fans are upset, frustrated, have every right to be. Disappointing performance, even though they were big dogs at Michigan State. I think it was the way it unraveled, certainly. Just kind of spoke to the frustrations overall of this season right now. Rutgers are 1-4 in Big Ten play. And wanted to touch on a few things. I think what I try to do for rapid reactions is focus on what I think are the key factors in the win or loss. And I'm not going to take time to kind of go over big picture items for the season in great detail, which I do in more episodes like this. And, some people were upset that I didn't focus enough on Rutgers just missing shots. I thought in that game, 3-point wise, they shot pretty well for them. They were 7 of 18. It was like 38, 39%. They were more efficient with layups than they have been, 9 of 14. Still not good enough, but better. I really felt like, that it was digesting that 19-0 run in the second half when the bench struggled, when transition defense fell apart, and then when Rutgers just kind of stopped working for good shots. I made a comment about the starters starting to gel. I'm not talking about for the whole season. I'm talking about in that game, I thought you saw some encouraging signs in the first part of the first half and then the first part of the second half, where you saw the starters working better together offensively. They were playing more with purpose. They were sharing the basketball better. There was more screening action. There was a lot of diagonal screens going on. They were getting better shots. They were making shots. They were playing with confidence, and they were cohesive together on the floor on both ends. And they couldn't sustain that. And that's a problem, of course. And going back to the substitutions, and I thought Peichel had a plan, right? He kept his two best defenders on the floor in Mag and Cliff, brought in 3 offensive-minded players in Noah, JaMychal Davis, and who has been really good at times on defense, and then also Oscar Palmquist. And they weren't able to keep the same intensity. And then when the starters came back in, they weren't able to recapture it either. So in terms of the offense, I wanted to focus on that now because, yes, it's a major problem. If Rutgers was just average offensively, they'd be in a much better position. They still don't have any bad losses, and there is a very much more manageable break in the schedule in a couple weeks through the rest of the season. They're in a hellish period right now. You have Nebraska at home on Wednesday. You're at Illinois on Sunday, and then hosting Purdue the following Sunday. People say you don't need to say anything. Just, they just miss shots. That's all that matters. If they're not going to make shots, they're going to stink. Well, I think it has a lot more to do with some inefficiencies and the mindset, the mentality of the team in terms of offense. In terms of kind of general thoughts, they're lacking discipline. They're lacking patience. They're forcing things. Their spacing is bad at times. I think I shouldn't say all. I think a big part of the problem on offense is that they don't have a true point guard that's emerged. I think there was hope that Derek Simpson would be that guy. I think there was some hope that Noah Fernandez would be that guy. You've seen JaMychal Davis have some run as a point guard. He had a tremendous stretch of assist to turnover ratio where that's kind of, he's been committing a lot of turnovers lately. Austin Williams has been a lot better lately, but he's not a point guard. They've mixed and matched all 4 guards, and they just haven't been able to sustain a good mix there in terms of what they're getting out of guard play. And guard play is so important in basketball, specifically college basketball, and it's been a big part of the struggles. It's been why they haven't been able to settle down at times. I don't think in terms of what you're seeing, I don't think it's an unselfish team in terms of, attitude, chemistry. I think I think their attitude is good. I think their chemistry is good. I think you're not seeing enough unselfish play on offense in terms of sharing the basketball. I think they're trying to create scoring opportunities, but there's a lot of dribble, drive, pull up, shoot, miss. There's not a lot of dribble, attack and dish, kick out, to the defense, right? Big Ten teams are getting back in transition. They're physically able to keep up with Rutgers, and you're not seeing the Rutgers guards look for the trailer, right? You're seeing them. I mean, Jermichael Davis was a perfect example of going too far into the rim in transition and getting called for the charge. You've seen them kind of get sucked in and take contested shots, even if they are near the rim at times. Everyone's guilty of that. You're not seeing a lot of looking for the trailer, kicking back out, either to reset the offense or to then kick the pass and find the open shooter. They're not making that extra pass. There's just too many quick shots. They're top 40 in terms of average possession length, in terms of speed, under 16 seconds. But I think it's been hurting them because they're not getting enough offensive rebounds. They're not getting enough second chance opportunities. It's speeding up the game and allowing their opponent to get more scoring opportunities, get more possessions. Rutgers has way too many one-shot possessions. They're not following their shots. They're not getting those long rebounds. It's created kind of just a cycle of frustration that you could see them playing a little bit tense in terms of how they're managing offense, how they're taking their shots. I think there's too many long twos being taken. I don't think it's hero ball as much or like traditional ISO in terms of posting up your defender, backing him down, trying to work the shot clock. It's much more of kind of take the first read that the defense gives you and take it, and not work the defense, not work the shot clock, not work the basketball in terms of ball reversals, in terms of making that extra pass, in terms of inside out game. Cliff is getting smothered because Rutgers can't make a shot from the outside. I've said many times he's not a traditional big in the sense of I think he's very strong as a post-up offensive player. And he's worked on his passing, but I think you're not seeing Rutgers even post him up and just entry passes into him and then boom, him looking for open guys on the perimeter. Rutgers guards are struggling to get entry passes into Cliff, and it's impacting his game. His shot attempts are way down from last year. His efficiency is down. I don't think that they're utilizing enough of Cliff in terms of finding him off the roll, in terms of screening actions. That high ball screen last year that worked at times down the stretch pretty much won the Penn State game with Derek Simpson and Cliff doing that high ball screen. You don't see a lot of that. They're not getting him out in space enough, but they're not able. The guards haven't really learned how to get him the ball with an opportunity for him to score. And he's drifting a little bit from the rim. He's trying to, I think, maybe create on his own away from his back to the basket, in 15 feet. And you haven't seen great results in that regard. They're not getting him alley-oops like he used to get. And he's not even getting those rim running opportunities where, in transition where he is the trailer and he's following the guards and trying to get offensive rebounds. There's a lot of frustration out there, and the activity, the movement, both ball movement and players moving off the ball. You saw a back screen or two against Michigan State, but it's just not consistent enough, and they haven't found enough, anything that works. Danny Breslauer, I'm sure people follow him on Twitter. He got great analysis. He always talks about repeatable actions, repeatable offense. And it's true. Rutgers hasn't found anything that kind of their go-to. And I've spoken to the inability to stop long scoring runs from the opponent because they don't have a knockdown shooter that can just, a knockdown scorer, a reliable scorer they can go to. Bouncing around a little bit in terms of offensive rebounding. Brian Fonseca had an article on NJ Advanced Media talking about how Rutgers is, shooting historically at a very low clip in multiple categories. And there's tons of advanced stats out there, whether it's Evan Maya or, Bart Torvik or Ken Palm. I've looked at all of them, and yeah, they all tell a similar story in terms of how poor they're shooting. Rutgers right now, in terms of the Peichel era on offense, I mean, they're shooting 44.2% from 2-point range overall. That is second to worst of the Peichel era. In 21, they shot 51.7 from two. The year after they went to the tournament, 49.4%. which, isn't even like, amazing. It's like, right around 100, 125th. This is, they're 344th right now, 2-point shooting percentage. On second, included a clip where, I guess, in Big Ten play through 5 games, they're shooting the lowest 2-point percentage of the Ken Palm era, 38.2%. So it's been dreadful. In terms of threes, I mean, this is the worst 3-point shooting team percentage-wise that Pikel has had since he's been at Rutgers, 29.2%, 329th nationally, free throw percentage, 66.5. I have talked about the assets of Simpson, Noah, and Hyatt from the free throw line down the stretch. Those guys got to get to the free throw line more. I think even though Rutgers is shooting poorly from 3, they need to generate better looks from 3. They need to attack the rim more and either, increase their free throw rate and get to the line, create contact, kickouts to 3, generate open looks. They need to offensive rebound. They need more second chance opportunities. And that was what was striking to me. All these shooting percentages. If you look at the offensive rebounding rate for the Rutgers offense right now, they're 31%. That's just 121st, right? Not terrible nationally. But if you look at those early teams of Pikel, right, when they struggled to shoot the ball, that first team he had, they shot really poorly, very similarly to this team. But they rebounded the ball offensively 37.4% of the time. That was 7th best nationally. They were generating second chance scoring opportunities. And again, they weren't shooting the ball great, but they were getting themselves chances. Rutgers right now has way too many one-shot possessions. And also, in terms of offensive rebound rate, those two other teams from Pikel, 33%, 33.3%, 43rd, 33.4%, 34th. They were basically top 50 in offensive rebounding rate his first 4 seasons. As the talent improved and their shooting percentages improved, the offensive rebounding rate does go down. But now that they're shooting so poorly, they're just not making up for it in any way in terms of the offensive rebounding. So that's been an issue. Just in terms of, I touched on Cliff a little bit. I touched on the offensive rebound. I mean, it's not leading to any easy baskets. They're not getting those steals and layups like they were in non-conference play off of their defense. They're not getting, they're not following their own shot as much and getting, guys rebounding their own misses. They're not getting a lot of putbacks in terms of offensive rebounds and second chance points. Things are getting closed off, and I think, again, it goes back to not having a traditional or true point guard and also a pass first point guard. And as much as people, want to be critical of Paul Mulcahy, and listen, he was not the perfect point guard. He was not a traditional point guard. He struggled at times. We know that, he was not his best towards the stretch last season, but his mentality, he was a pass first point guard. And people got frustrated by that sometimes. And that was correct at times where he needed to be a little more selfish and needed to look for a shot more. But when you had a guy on the floor who was committed to finding his teammates, creating scoring opportunities for his teammates, that creates more balance offensively. And Rutgers doesn't have that right now. They don't have someone that's able to create for their teammates on a consistent basis. And a lot of times guys are just kind of taking the ball and taking matters into their own hands. I think they have good intentions, and it's not working. And I think that is a big part of the problem. I think Derek Simpson, he's shooting too many twos. He hasn't emerged as the distributor I think that he can be. And I mentioned that high ball screen. He used that so effectively at times last year. You're not seeing a lot of that. But I think you're not seeing this team as a whole in terms of being able to sustain ball movement and able to, not allow frustrations creep in and not get complacent. And they need more consistent movement, consistent screening actions. Antoine Woolfolk is someone that has been really effective off the screens and being able to help Rutgers, get some spacing in the half court. But overall, I think, this team just they haven't meshed. They're not cohesive. And again, going back to the point of they're just they're trying to force things to the point where it's not leading to consistently good enough looks. Now, they have had some good looks and just missed shots. So there's a lack of confidence there, but they just can't seem to get in the flow of things. Now, defensively, they've been very good. They've struggled at times in Big Ten play. They're not going to be perfect. They're fourth right now in Big Ten play, but they're dead last in offense. And they just can't sustain that defensive effort when you're not scoring points. When Rutgers traditionally, when they can get points off of their defense, it's just a kind of like a cyclical effect where they get better defensively, they're more locked in, and they start feeling better on offense. And Cliff hasn't had the shot production he had last year. They don't have a consistent 3-point shooter. Hyatt, shooting 35%. I think he's been admirable in how he's playing. I think he is trying to play within the flow of the offense. I actually think for him, he's had a big major progress in terms of how he tries to operate out there in the half court. But again, I think the lack of point guard presence is a problem, and you haven't seen this team figure that out. The lineup combinations, I think you can't fault Peichel for trying pretty much everything at this point in terms of his different point guard, combos. And I think that Austin Williams gives him something specific. I think that, between J. Mike, Noah, and Derek, you need to find an answer in terms of someone being consistent to be able to run the offense, to be able to keep Rutgers in sets, to be able to keep them, have them play with purpose offensively, to be able to make sure the ball doesn't stick, to not get frustrated, and to not settle. They're settling. They're settling for too many twos. In the modern game, it's threes and layups. You don't want to settle for these 15-foot jumpers. Now, can you get into the lane and hit the 7-footer? Well, that might be a little bit better. But, just way too many elbow jumpers, that they're not going in. And it's easy to say that they shouldn't be taking them when they miss them. If they're making them, then, it's hard to argue against it. But just strategically, because it also just in terms of them getting back on defense and, they're just unable to sustain possessions, and they're not able to create offense that they can rely on. And it's been a huge problem. Can they figure it out? I think that the personnel, listen, it's not a perfect roster. We know that. Paul and Cam aren't there. I know people don't want to hear that excuse, but it's true. People are in roles, players in roles that you didn't expect them to be. Gavin has struggled off the bench. They haven't gotten a lot of wing production at all, aside from Hyatt. Mag, to me, is a 4. Yes, he could play in the perimeter some, and he has. But at the end of the day, he fills the 4 role for Rutgers. And, they just haven't gotten enough scoring from any position. Hyatt's been the most consistent offensive player. They have to figure out a way to get Cliff more involved and comfortable on offense. They have to be able to be more aware, better court awareness, and better spacing in terms of their transition and how they get into their half court. Looking to create space, looking to create open scoring opportunities for opponents. They should be taking more threes. I disagree that they should take less threes, but you have to have some kind of inside out game, and that will help open Cliff up as well. No easy answers, but and I'm not saying anything the staff doesn't know, and I'm not trying to say that I know better. I'm just giving you my thoughts. This is my take on what I see, and I don't think it's hopeless. I really don't. I think it's just the mentality of this team, and in terms of just buying into being committed to working things offensively, to not settle, to not get frustrated, to not have your will bent by the opposing defense, and to really, just continue to work things, to take it possession by possession, and really try to generate better looks. And I think you'll see some progress there. Again, getting to the line more. This team has shown an ability to do that as well. But when you have not enough, and we have Derek Simpson, Noah Fernandez, and Andre Hyatt, those are guys that, need to get to the foul line, and you'll benefit a lot. Offensive rebounding is huge. Absolutely have to do a better job on offensive rebounding. And then when they get those offensive rebounds, they have to convert. They have to make more layups at the rim. They have to finish strong. How many and ones have we seen from this team this year? Not many. Not many. So, long way to go. I do think the schedule presents some opportunities very soon here. Rutgers does not have any bad losses. Things do not look very good right now, but I do think that there's a path to this team being a lot better in terms of they've been. Now, I'm not saying they're going to, make an NCAA tournament run right now, but I am saying that I think this offense can be a lot better than it is. And I don't think Pikel's saying that this team should score 80 points or has shot a lot better in practice in the offseason, all that. I don't think that that's false. I think that there's a path to that. But some of the kind of big picture things I talked about here, I think are the path to creating that, creating better offense. So we'll see what happens. I know I rambled a bit at the end. I just wanted to put some thought into this. And, if I don't point out every single thing after Rapid Reaction, you can always message me. I appreciate the comments. Appreciate everyone that watches. But I also try to make it unique, too, because if I keep laboring the same day, well, if you just made a jump shot, they'd win. See you later. Thanks for watching. I'm trying to but be authentic. And it's killing me to see this team struggle so bad because I think, like I said, I think this is a good core. I think that they have good chemistry. I think that they want to do the right thing. I think they're just really lacking execution and patience and the ability to create offense in the way that they want to do it. And, Wednesday night against Nebraska is a huge opportunity. I'll be back with keys for that game soon. I'll have a wrestling podcast coming up. I'll have football as well. Stick with me here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast, and thanks for listening once again.